Good morning, students. Welcome to June 22nd lesson. It's just law and exponents, something that you done last year, so we're going to run through it kind of quickly. There are 5 simple laws. The first one is when you multiply, if they have the same base, then you could add the exponent for all of x. It doesn't matter what number it is, okay? When you divide, again, they have to have the same base, then you subtract the exponent. There's a kind of an easy way to do this. I can show you that later. Okay. By the way, x cannot be 0 because you can never divide by 0. If there is a power to a power, that means there's an exponent, and then there's another exponent for it. You actually multiply those two exponents. For the fourth one, anything to 0 power is 1. Again, x cannot be 0 though, because again, that wouldn't make it'll be 0. So that's why x cannot be 0 for this rule. And if it's a negative exponent has nothing to do with negative numbers. It just means that you're going to make that number into a very small number. And so then therefore, it usually means that it's going to be a number that's less than 1. So that just means 1 over x. All right, again, we're going to go over these right now. We're going to do 1, 2, and 3 for your classwork today. So let's talk about 4 and 5 first real fast, okay? Oops, grab this paper, move it out for a second. All right. So again, before we start our lesson today, let's talk about negative exponents and 0 exponent. Let's go ahead and do negative exponent first. All right. All right, so again, negative exponent, again, you're just making that number into a very, very small, smaller number that's less than 1. Okay, so that's what it means. It doesn't mean it's a negative number. All right, if it's a negative number, they'll put a negative right here. Okay, so anyway, so that doesn't mean negative. It just means they make that numbers to a very small number. So what they do is just go, okay, I want that number to be somewhere between 0 and 1. So somewhere between 0 and 1. All right, so therefore you have to make that number into a fraction, because that fraction would be a number that's between 0 and 1. If it's like 5, be 25, so 1 over 25 is somewhere in here. Okay, so negative exponent just means a number between 0 and 1. All right, now if you're going to divide by a negative exponent, then it becomes it actually becomes x to the second power, and I'll explain that in a second. All right, so let's go and do these two first. Okay, so again, you want that number to be somewhere between 0 and 1, so that becomes 1 over 5 to the third power, which is 1 over 125. If you divide 1, you do 1 divided by, let's see here real quickly, 1 divided by 125. You see 0.008 is a number between 0 and 1. All right, so that's what negative exponent really means. Now what happens if you divide by a 0.001? What happens if you do 1 divided by that negative exponent? So here's a long way of looking at it. So it would be, again, it would be this number over here. Oh, okay, so it would be 1 divided by 1 over 125. In a sense, is 1 over, so this becomes, again, we just showed you earlier, 0.008, 0.008. Now, if you divide anything that is less, you divide 1 by anything that's less than 1, it's going to give you a larger number. Okay, so actually this answer, when you take out a calculator, it becomes 1 over 120. Oops, sorry, my bad, real fast. Cancel that out. You divide 1, divide here, we'll do real fast. Okay, so 1 divided by 0.008. So 1 divided by 0.008, and it gives you 125. You see that? So in a sense, this part right here, okay, turns into 125. All right, so this also turns into 125, obviously. So a faster way of doing it is just go, oh, okay, so I know that's the same thing as 5 to the third power. So you can skip, you don't have to do any of this. You can just go from this part to this part, because again, you move it over. So it's just like this right here. All right, so again, that gives you 5 to the third, that gives you 125. So my answer is 125. You don't have to do all this junk here. Okay, I'm just proving it to you why it becomes 125. All right, let's go and move on to 0 exponent. All right, so 0 exponent, anything to the 0 power is 1. So again, this is a 12, it could be 50, 100, 1,000. Anything to the 0 power is 1, so that's 1. Unless, again, anything to the 0 power is 1. So this is actually just 12 to the 0 power. Ignore the negative for a second. So it's 12 to the 0 power, so that's also 1. That negative doesn't do anything, okay? It doesn't belong to a 12 when there's a power. However, when there's a parenthesis, okay, anything inside a parenthesis is to the 1. Anything to the 0 power is 1. Okay, it doesn't matter what's in there. It could be a positive or negative, it could be a letter, it could be anything. All right, now let's just go ahead and put like 3 letters, X, Y, Z. Anything to the 0 power is 1. All right, let's go ahead and move on to today's lesson real fast. All right, welcome back. Here's today's lesson. Okay, so we're going to do a multiplying expression with exponents. So when you multiply, if they have the same base, if they do not, you can't do that. Okay, so they're the same base, so 6, 6, and 6. I know it's a bad luck number. Anyway, ignore the negative. Let's put that one first. Okay, so then they all have the same base. So when you're multiplying expression, you could add these 3 numbers. So 1, 2, 3. Here you get a 7. So that gives me 6 to the 2nd power, which gives me, again, ignore the negative. It gives you 36. All right, let's move on to the next problem. Okay, I'll do it down here, the answer. So again, they're not the same base, so you could just multiply that. 6 times 4 is 24. These two have the same base. That gives you x to the 7th. You can put a 1 here if you want to. Okay, and then the y, there's no base to add that with, so that gives you y to the 1. That's my answer for number 2. Okay, let's go ahead and do number 3. Again, that means multiplying, same thing as that. All right, so look for the same base. There's -2. There's no other numbers to multiply that with, so I'm with -2. Put a 1 right here, so just in case you're going to add the exponent, and you are, that's going to give you a to the 5th power. That gives you b to the -1. That gives you c to the 2nd power. All right, now the rule of standard is that for exponents, you cannot leave an answer as a negative exponent. So I'm just going to quickly rewrite this one. This one becomes, again, this turns into a fraction, because it's going to be a number between 0 and 1. So -2, I'm going to leave the a, I'm going to leave the c, and then that becomes a b to the 1 power on the bottom. All right, let's go and move on to number 4. This one has some 0 exponent. That actually makes it easier. Okay, that one's gone. That's 1, 1, 1. 4 times 5 is 20, and then b to the -2. There's no other b, so let's just rewrite that quickly. I know you go, wait, doesn't that turn into a fraction? We'll do that later. Let's just multiply first, and then c to the 4th power. And now let's go ahead and rewrite that, 20. Don't be too eager. Don't worry about trying to skip step. Just slowly, just go ahead and figure out multiplication first, and then you can remove the negative exponent. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our example 2. All right, this one here is power to expression with exponent. You know what? I'm going to move this one over. Let's do dividing first. All right, let's go divide first. So we're going to divide. We're going to go and divide expression with exponents. Now this one here, you're supposed to subtract the exponent. Okay, so there's a faster way of doing that, or the easy way I think of doing that. Now this is 9 times 9 times 9 times 9. And this one 9 times 9 times 9 times 9 times 9 times 9. And then you cancel out the 9s, and you realize that there are more 9s on the bottom. All right, and this one, same thing, but there's no more 9s on top. So what I would do, I will look at the same base, make sure they're the same base. I go, okay, I know there's more 9s on the bottom, so I'm going to quickly do a little slash like this. All right, and I realize, again, I'm going to cancel all my 9s, so there's no 9 left, or there's nothing left, so it'll be 1 on top. And I realize that I cancel out my 5. You could just do a simple subtraction. That'll be 9 to the 2nd power. All right, so that's my answer for this one. Now, that's not the same as this one, because there's more 9 on top. So I do the same thing. I will cancel out this 5. I know there's more 9 on top, which is the 2nd power, and there's nothing left on the bottom because I cancel out my 9s. It gives me 1 like this. So again, they're not the same, as you can see, okay? So this one, my final answer is 1 over 81, and this one, my final answer is just 81. All right, let's go and move on to number 2. So same thing, this one has a bunch of letters. I'll put a 1 right here first, real fast. Okay, put a 1 right there, okay? Let's take a look. 5, I always like to write my fraction line first, just in case, okay? So that's 5 and 20, they're not the same base, so you can actually have to do the division. You have to actually divide those two, and actually you just reduce, it'll be 1 over 4, okay? And as you can see, there's more A's on the bottom, so I'm gonna do a quick cancel out right over here like this, and I know there's more L. You could, in fact, extend it if you want to do that. And then I know there's more A on the bottom by 2. This one has more B on the top by 5. And that's just my final answer. You don't have to leave the 1 there if you don't want to, okay? Let's go ahead and do number 3 quickly. All right. Again, I'm going to draw my fraction line first. And I'm going to reduce. I'm going to divide by 3, divide by 3. That gives me a negative. Again, ignore negative for a second. That gives me 3, and that gives me 4. All right. Now for this one, I don't want to subtract anything because there's negative exponents. So I'm going to move the negative exponent first. This one might have a little more steps. So let me move this up quickly. Okay. So I'm going to move this one down. So a to the second becomes here. And then again, this one here, when you divide by a very small number, it actually brings it to the top. So this is a to the 5th. So that gives me b to the 4th still. Now I'm going to move this guy up, so it gives me b to the 9th. And then the c's, I can just cancel them out. They're exactly the same. All right, so this is what I have right now. Again, I move that one up, move that one down, move this one up, and that's how it looks like. I'm not done yet, obviously, okay? Because now I can cancel. There's more a. Let's rewrite the fraction line first. Make my life easier. Okay, there's more a on top by 3, and these two, they're actually multiplying. I'm going to use what I learned earlier, add the exponent, it gives me b to the 13th power. There you go. All right, and let's go and do the very last one, number 4. Again, let's draw the fraction line first. I'm going to reduce those two. That will give me 2 over 1. You don't need to put a 1 there. I'm going to move this guy up real fast. Becomes another, I just rewrote him, and I'm going to move this guy up, x to the 3rd. These two looks like they can cancel. And these two, we're going to flip-flop that, all right? So I'm going to get z on top, z to the 4th on top, and then z to the 6th on the bottom. All right? Let's go and finish this problem. I'm moving it up real fast. This one here gives me fraction line first, so it gives me 2, and that gives me x to the 6th, and there's more z on the bottom by 2. That's my final answer. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to our last part of our notes. Oops, sorry guys, I just hit this frame. Okay, my bad. All right, this is power to a power, meaning that there's a power inside the parenthesis and there's another one outside. So you could actually write this one twice like this if you wanted to, okay, and it becomes multiplication. But there's actually a faster way, all right? So let's go ahead and do that. Let's put a 1. Make sure you put an exponent in all of them. Okay? So you have to make sure you multiply by every single one of them. If there's a negative, use a parenthesis, please. So that's negative 4 to the 2nd power. Multiply the exponent, you get me x to the 6th. I'm not done yet because I need to do negative 4 to the 2nd power. Now this one has a parenthesis, meaning it's negative 4 times negative 4. And that will give me 16x to the 6th. All right? Move on to number 2. Again, you could write it 3 times, right? If you wanted to, but you definitely don't need to. There's a faster way. Make sure they all have an exponent. All right, so I'm gonna do 3, and then it'll be 5 to the 3rd. This one you don't need a parenthesis since there's no negative. A to the 3rd, to b to the negative 6, and then c to the 9. You go, wait, what happened to the negative? Why didn't you do that first? For this one, when there's a power to a power, you always want to do the power on the outside first. Just trust me, that makes it so much easier. Again, I say trust me, all right? When there's a power with a power, you do that power first, okay? All right, looks like I'm gonna move this guy down. So it'll be 5 to the 3rd, a to, oh, my bad. Let's do 5 to the 3rd, which is 125. 125, you don't wanna, just skip a little step there. A to the 3rd, c to the 9th, and then you get b to the 6th power on the bottom. All right, let's move on to number 3. All right, so again, you could write 4 times, we're not gonna do that. They all have an exponent, and there you go. So multiply the exponent, you get a to the 16th, b to the 4th, and then a to the 4th. Let's go ahead and cancel this guy out. You don't need that 0 exponent there, okay? So let's go ahead, and I realized that you could subtract the exponent, so this guy is gone, so you get a to the 12th and then b to the 4th. Now you can put it over 1 if you wanted to. You don't have to. Yeah, I'll do it, but you don't have to. All right? Okay, let's go and move on to number 4. Let's do it one more time. Again, don't worry about the exponent. You can move it now, but I just never do it. I always want to get rid of the power first of the power. So multiply that negative, so I use a parenthesis, negative 2 to the 4th power. A to the negative 8, b to the 24th, a to the negative 16, b to the negative 8. Let's go ahead and move all the exponent. This one here gives me negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. That gives me 16. This one moves down, this one does not. So let's go ahead and flip them real fast here. Let's rewrite the fraction first, my bad. A to the 16th, A to the 8th, B to the 24th. Move this guy up, get B to the 8th. Write that dot there. All right, let's take a look. As I can see, this one's gone. So again, rewrite the fraction line for 16. That will give me A to the 8th on top. And then I add those two, gives me B to 32. And over 1. Again, you don't need to write it like that. If you wanted to, you could just leave it like this. But anyway, always want to write the fraction line first. Just make things a lot easier. All right, last problem. All right, so this one has a negative power, okay? So as we talked about earlier, it's just making a fraction. If there's a power to a fraction, you can actually flip the fraction and the negative goes away. So I'm actually gonna do that first, okay? So I'm gonna go and just rewrite the fraction, except I'm gonna flip that. So this becomes 6b to the 5th. You don't actually change anything. I'm just getting rid of that negative, and all it does is flip. So you just have to rewrite the problem being flipped. So that's still -2, and that's still b to the 0 power. All right, so I just flip that fraction. That becomes to the 3rd. All right, now let's go ahead and put a 1 right over here. Oh, well, you know what? You can reduce that. We could do that first, okay? So here, I'm gonna reduce that. So that gives me, and I can get rid of this one too. So reduce that, that gives me, divide, that goes into that evenly 3. So 3b to the 5th. Again, that becomes 3, and there's still -2. And then that one's gone, and then 3rd power. All right, so that gives me 1, so 3 to the 3rd power, b to the 15. Again, I'm multiplying, and then a to the -6. 3 to the 3rd power is 27, and that one moves up, so then it gives me a to the 6th, and then b to the 15th. There you go. All right, that concludes our lesson. You have any questions, email me, or you can Zoom with me on Monday. Thank you, students, and have a great day.